everyone please stand as we do the opening recitation. Amatu and Panetier.
Amatu and Panetier.
Sawak to women Panetier.
Sawak to women Panetier.
Audu Alma.
Audu Alma.
Keti Paheru.
Keti Paheru.
The translation is thus.
Give yourself to God daily. Keep yourself for God daily. And may tomorrow be as today. We give homage to the Creator, who is like our Father, and who is like our Mother, who is everything that we perceive and everything that we cannot perceive, who is everything, yet is no thing, who comes to us in the form of the next to Ra, who is the light of the heavens, light of the inner planes, as well as the light of our lives, who shines the light for us on the path of Ma'ati, which is the path of truth, justice, righteousness, and harmonious balance, who comes to us in the form of the light of vitality, giving us the strength and the endurance to live and act upon that which we know to be true. Homage to you, the one who shines in and through us as a beacon of light, for those who are blind to the facts of their place, positions, and responsibilities in the divine scheme of things. May we be Ma'akiru, true of thought, word, and deed, to our highest reality. And in moments of crisis in the dark nights of soul, when it appears that everyone and everything else has let us down, so it is and so shall it be.
Amen. Ma'at.
Amen. Ma'at.
Ma'akaru.
Ma'akiru.
Ma'akaru.
Ma'akiru.
Ma'akaru.
Ma'akiru.
Ma'akaru.
Ma'akiru.
MC. Well, the day is here. I am grateful to be here today. I say that I'm grateful every day to be able to wake up with all my faculties, with sufficient clothing, food, and shelter, and with my family intact. Do all messing.
What's the matter? Oh.
My name is Kaika Amku, which translates as she who seeks true guidance with patience to obtain wisdom, clarity, and light. And my clan name is Ma'akaru, which translates in united voice and thought. I am a member of the Royal Court here at the Temple of Anu, and I share the title of Saka Ed with my Sanet Nakurti, where we assist Hamet behind the scenes with logistics, planning, and implementation. This past September actually makes 11 years of me coming to the temple and 8 years as an initiate. In those 11 short years that I've been around, the temple has participated in organic farming, where we share with the North community and the temple community and our supporters. I've assisted with implementing the welcome table that we have now in the back. The welcome table also assisted with gaining donations or obtaining donations to create scholarships for those initiates and supporters that the leadership would decide upon to help them attend Wet and Pet, because it used to be a 4-day retreat in upstate New York. We've also conducted multiple clothing drives, hygiene kits disbursements, and back-to-school book bag drives in the communities that our initiates are a part of, which is the North community, Wilmington, Delaware community, and New York City. So how did I get here? How do I explain that? I have a short story. It's a real-life 6 degrees of separation type background story. And it's always in divine timing, sometimes slow time, but it's there. I met Baba Haru back in my sophomore year of college, although not directly. He was invited to do a workshop at the college, and that was like 1997, 1998. And everything that he talked about, I took notes on in my daily planner. Anybody can remember those things. I still have that daily planner. And in that moment, I thought, I need to get back to that. He came there with 2 students, dressed in their garbs, their whites, their ankhs, and they were talking about being Kemetic. And during the day, they were attorneys. And that just, not struck me by surprise, but it's like, that's possible. Didn't know what being a Kemite was. They also was attorneys, and they were doing quite well for themselves. So I knew, I'm gonna get back to that once I graduate. Fast forward, the Sacred Woman book dropped in 2001. I got it that year. I still have a hard copy of that. And didn't know what to do with that book at all. It was very intense. It asked you to form a sister group, and that was very hard to do at that time because others didn't know. I didn't know anything about what was happening in Brooklyn, unfortunately. So fast forward from that, I put the book down, hoping I would find others that I could share that with. I went on a belly dance retreat, and I met Abu Akaya on that retreat. Yes, belly dance, but she was doing a mini introduction to Sacred Woman during that 3-day workshop. And I got exposed to it at that point, and we're still friends to this day. Fast forward again, I met Baba Haru again, this time directly through Anika and Jabari. I was part of the African Genesis group where they were leading groups to Kemet in a 2-year program. And fast forward again, 2012. My sacred sister, Jasmine, AKA Chasamet, and I, the 2 of us sat at Queen Afua's feet for 12 weeks to do Sacred Woman program. We were Asta Neverhead, as she put it. She was not doing that program at that time. So we had to really convince her that we really needed this. We still had our books from 2001, hard copies. She was very impressed with that because she no longer had printed it in that way. They were falling apart, but they exist. So knowing Anika and Jabari, they posted a picture of themselves attending the Feast of Sekhmet at a temple of the New Jersey, Newark, New Jersey to be in fact. I mean, I've always seen them in Harlem, in Brooklyn, always New York. Wait, there's Newark, New Jersey tagged in this Facebook post? A temple exists? There's something after Sacred Woman? And I said, okay, I gotta get there. But by the time I got there, Temple of Anu was temporarily at Mount Clair, New Jersey. And basically walkable from where I was living. I'm like, there's absolutely no excuse at this point. I went the weekend after Wet Run Pet that year, that Sunday after Wet Run Pet that year, 2013, and I've been coming ever since. So, yes. So it might be slow at times, but it was always right on time. So I'm going to take a moment to say Dua Netta for Himnet Mr. Vidi Rasan Kepra and Himnet Netta and Bara Ma'at for their level of dedication to the legacy and their love for the community. A few communions ago, Wabet Shimset Ra spoke to the initiates at the temple during our communion about when we receive our tefreds after Wet Run Pet. Our tefreds represents the energies of the Netzeru that are a part of Wet Run Pet, Asar, Haru Or, Satesh, Alset, and Abahet. She kind of like took us on a journey of being on the yellow brick road, being part of the Wizard of Oz, because we all come together as groups, into Alset group, into a Haru Or group, and we share the journey together of that reading for the year to discover more about ourselves. Back in 2017, Wet Run Pet, I received Alset for the first time. In hindsight, Alset showed up for me in her motherly way, as she does. hindsight, she was prepping me, my mind and my spirit. And I say that because, you know, our Kemetic New Year is over the previous year into the next year, so 2018. I had scheduled a trip to Thailand. And it was a group of friends that I traveled with. I've traveled with them before. They go on lavish trips. But they do all the work, so I wanted to go. And it was during that trip, I was on a bus in Bangkok going to a temple over there. And it came to me that, yeah, I should have stayed home. I should have went with the Temple of Anu to Ohio. Because we have a celebration where we used to go on an annual basis there to celebrate bringing a Kemite. I'm gonna get that holiday wrong, but I know it's Heaven Unto You, and I might be saying that slightly wrong, but that's the celebration. And my thought was, I don't really need to travel this far again for quite some time. I was feeling like very content, like, yeah, this was a lot. Although I have fun, don't get me wrong, I'll probably don't have to go back and it's something I can check off. But something in me was changing. I felt like, yeah, I don't really need to do this. And I should have stayed home. And what I realized was that my mind and my body was getting content because it was preparing me for the little person that we have in the room today that is 5 years old, gonna be turning 6. You know. My beautiful daughter, our beautiful daughter, who knows that she is the daughter of Ra, who calls herself the daughter of Ra, and that she is Ra, and Anpu protects her. So that's the last time I was with Osset. So Osset showed up in divine time. Wabed Ma'ava spoke about this a few communions ago, about timing. When you think you're accomplished, when you think you should be doing X, Y, Z, and you're not, or when you think things should happen for you. Osset showed up for me in that time in that motherly way because she knew I needed her too. Now, back to the interpret that we received this year. How is that going for everybody? You know, we're about 3 months in. How's everyone feeling about that? And if you haven't guessed it, who do you think I have this year? Osset. Exactly. What does Osset have in store for me this year? What is it that I am to learn? What is it that I am to experience? What areas am I to delve into this time? So those are the questions I tend to ask myself when I receive a Tefred. I think we all do. Like, okay, sometimes you kind of already know this thing that's happening in your life and you're gonna need a certain energy. And sometimes you don't. And this year I didn't come with, oh, I need Nebuchadnezzar or I need Asar to work on this thing. I just went empty, like whoever selects me is fine. So my initial thought about Osset selecting me is when I realized in that following communion, when Hamet asked who had Osset, and everyone raised their hand, and I realized, there was no Saru member. There was no Saru member that also raised their hand. And to those who don't know, usually we have a Saru member in our Tefret groups. And I didn't see a quite immediate concern on Hamet's face. I didn't see quite an immediate concern on those who raised their hand that said, oh, I am to do this by myself. I am to take a leadership role, at least more of it. And after looking at the reading, it was also more about speaking up more and speaking out more. I don't know if a lot of you noticed this, but I don't talk to hear myself talk. And maybe that's an Aquarius thing. I'm just not gonna keep talking just to be saying stuff. You know, I want it to be because I believe it. I want to tell you something. It's informative. It's guidance. So I feel like everyone does not need to hear my initial thoughts. So that might make me more quiet than others, perhaps. or sometimes. So in the offset reading, we have the areas, and everyone else also in their readings have the areas of mental, physical, and spiritual. So in the offset reading, you're all right side up, meaning we are on the right path if we adhere to the reading. And if we, if we continue to work on that in that way. However, there's a small part in our reading that's upside down. And that's the area that we need to pay attention to. And that area is the throat chakra. Speaking. So, you see how this is coming together, right? Speaking more, talking more. What I appreciate about being an initiate of the Temple of the New is that we are encouraged to cultivate our relationships with the Neteru and how they are part of our everyday lives with dealing with ourselves, with others, and life situations. And one of the ways of that is matching the best verbiage to any circumstance for the best outcome. In the quote, Ptahhotep, a hereditary prince, a vizier, which is equivalent to a vice president of a country, during the 5th dynasty of ancient Kemet, tells us that we should teach the unlearned to learn according to the standard of good speech, as what is useful for him will listen. The phrase good speech comes from Medet Neferet. We heard Medu, as in Medu Necher. Like Medu, the word Medet means speech, but of a certain type of speech. Medet Neferet, good speech, is a directive speech act, speech that is used to influence someone to act in a ma'atic fashion. Good speech plays an important part in our daily lives when dealing with people and situations. So, let's come to what's happening. I'm a bit of a situation at work. I haven't quite experienced this before. It's a coworker that exhibits control issues. And at first, I thought they were behaving this way because I was new to the team. I've been in this role since January. And, I'm still in the learning process, in the workings, team process, blah, blah, blah. After 6 months, though, it's kind of like, all right, I got it. I know what to do. And she was overstepping in a lot of areas, even though I felt I can handle things on my own. This person, the coworker, talks a lot. She likes to tell me her life experiences, what the team was like before I joined, concerning past team members, past managers, and I'm a pretty good listener. I may not talk much, but I am listening. And she tells you stories and she repeats them often. So I just take note. I'm taking note and paying attention. The coworker particularly likes to describe her experience when a past team member had left and she was stuck there doing a huge project at an executive level and with exposure at the executive level. And the past team member, although she didn't directly say it, but I heard it I read between the lines, the person was a senior person to her. So I'm like, okay, that's not our current dynamic. I'm just saying that to myself. So one of those times that she's going through this story, right? She's going through it. Her behavior still remained the same. That we're into the summertime at this point, and I'm trying to think about how am I going to handle this? Will I let this go on? This behavior, is it really her? Is it me? I'm getting in my head. Could I do something a little bit differently? So I'm kind of like mulling over the scenario and our dynamics. And I'm starting to think at times like, well, because, one side of the story, until I heard another side of her story, that, well, why would I be hired if you can do all the work? If it was so great, it was so successful, you stayed up 20 hours every day, all right, then they didn't need to hire another person. But again, this is me and my conversation in my head. So there, again, the times where we're in meetings, we're dealing with other teams, and it's kind of like a jockeying for like, not posturing, but putting your input in, showing where you're valuable. And I'm like, I have not been in this position before. Everyone's been assigned to their things, and you do what you do, you report on what you report on. Not this competition within my own team. Okay, so I'm like, yeah, this is not gonna work. This is not gonna work. So, in the midst of, her going through her stories, and before I get there, I'm gonna read this. Page 59 of Hosea, paragraph 3. Do not argue with the contentious, nor provoke them with words. Pause before those who interrupt and give way to those who verbally attack you. Sleep a night before speaking. For the unrestrained person is like a storm which bursts forth like a flame in a pile of straw. So, during those times, I did not address what I was feeling or what I was thinking. I kind of let it go until I can get in my head, how am I going to address this? So, another day, I said, she talks a lot. They talk a lot. I don't. But I listen. So one day, she's repeating one of her stories, and without delay, without hesitation, I just interjected. It's like that past team member you keep talking about. Were they like, well, they're your manager? And she goes to answer, and I was like, well, we actually have the same title, right? Okay. And we both report to the same manager, right? I'm looking at her to confirm, yes. Okay. I was like, and we already know what's coming up in 2025 as far as our book of work. And I said that I think, how you're thinking this dynamic is working is not working. You don't have to control everything. I was hired to do this work with you as well. Right? And we have a big book of work coming in 2025, and I think it would be best that we work together on this. No, because I'm paraphrasing, right? I can't even quite tell you exactly what I said, but it was in that moment that I knew now was the time to talk. I didn't have the time to call on Jehuti, like my Sinette and Nencia, who knew she was about to have a potentially challenging conversation with her coworker. She called upon Jehuti to help her with that. I didn't have that time. And I didn't call upon her Peru to help me how to say the things, to be creative with the words. But there was intuition to talk in that moment. And I knew that was the right time to speak up on a Monday afternoon. On a Monday afternoon. So the words flowed out my mouth with everything that I had been thinking and feeling, but without malice, without disrespect. My words were in alignment with my heart and mind, which was Jehuti. I used the right kind of words, and how I said them, which was Heperu, in a manner that wouldn't cause friction, but actually be a productive conversation. And it hopefully improved our working relationship. It went over really well. She even herself admitted that she had control issues. That she never said that before. And I didn't say that. I didn't say anything about control. I just said, I was kind of like acting out what she does, and she got it. So she got it. And I think it's been a little better since then. Ptah-hotep, Maxim 24. If you are powerful, you should make respect of you through knowledge and calmness of speaking. Next one. Ptah-hotep, the post-teachings, lines 611 to 617. Be careful about opening the restraints on you. Guard against speaking like a pundit. Listen to yourself. If you want to fix yourself in the mouth of hearers, speak only when you have mastered the craft. When you speak from a state of completeness, all your advice will be as it should. Since working with Offset, since receiving the Tebret actually in August, this was actually my second situation that related to the Offset Tebret reading and dealing with my throat chakra, having to speak up, having to speak out for myself with words that the other person can understand and digest. Both situations were in divine time because I don't think that if I wasn't aware of this reading and what it is that I needed to focus on, that those conversations would not have happened or gone well as they did. I've come to recognize that you don't always have to or always need to react immediately to what someone says to you. Over time, you start to experience or gain experience and develop the gut instinct of tuition of when, where, and how to respond. To the quote I said earlier, if you want to fix yourself in the mouth of hearers, speak only when you have mastered the craft. When you speak from a state of completeness, your advice will be as it should. It's not perfect all the time. There will be times that you should speak and respond immediately. There'll just be some situations where you're gonna have to do that, right? But not always. So I'll give you another example of just not responding quickly or reacting and trying to answer what it is that's being said. And this one is a good one though. So I asked Wavet Shemset Ra to speak at our Offset Tebret, and we set a date and a time like a month before the meeting. However, right before the meeting, like a week before, she communicated that she was gonna have a conflict and that she would not be able to attend in case she come in November. Now in my head, I'm like, no, like I want her to come now. I had the whole meeting set around her coming, talking about the reading and giving us some more interpretations and insight, and having the members of that Tebret be able to ask her any questions if they needed any clarity. So I didn't respond. I just let that text message sit there for a little bit. And what I mean by a little bit, I mean like the day. But before I even answered, later that night, she responded, hey, it's good, all is well. My schedule worked out and I'm still able to attend. So I say that to say that I just gave it time. In my head, I reacted. In my head, I'm like, all right, if she comes in November, or maybe we can push the meeting, a couple of days later in the week, and I would have gone through all that stress and trying to get everyone's schedule, and I just paused for a second, and it worked out on her end, which was great. And sometimes I think that's what happens as well, even at work. You get a ping from Teams or your whatever you use at work or your emails, and people firing off things. You don't always have to react immediately. Sometimes let that thing sit there for a second. Either that person had a question for you, they'll probably figure it out before you going crazy trying to answer it. So you get those types of emails, you get those kind of things at work, and you start responding in your head, especially when those types of emails are coming at you, or you're accusing you of something, or the kind of like the how dare you type of email. And typically what I do not respond right away in the sense of responding back to them. I might respond back in a blank email, and you have me bang on a keyboard, getting all your thoughts out, getting all your emotions out. I will talk out loud about it, like, what's this person, what's going on? Talk to the screen. And by the time I'll go through that, then I can respond with a clear mind. I can respond with a calmness. I can respond as I should, and not in the moment and not full of emotions, but in a strategic way. And I think that's When you do that, you give your brain process and what's being said and how you're going to continue on with that situation, with that person. So the point is, don't respond right away all the time. Sometimes it's best to take a minute to cool down or take a minute to process what is being said to you. You might have to read it a few more times to make sure that you're actually understanding what that person is saying. Or even if it's in person, you don't have to respond, I'll get back to you. Because now you need to process what that person said. So sometimes it's best to take a minute, cool off, be strategic about how you respond. We know that there are times that no response is a response, depending on the situation. So before I leave today, I wanted to recite Hekau with my all set energy that the Samakuru clan wrote back in 2016. Most of you probably didn't hear it, probably definitely don't remember it, but I thought it was a fitting time and a chance, since I'm here, to recite this for you. This was our vision back then, and it still applies today. I know their hearts, they know mine, and they have love for the temple. So this is us talking to you all, talking to the leadership of the Temple of Anu. Our vision for ourselves, our sisters, and for the Temple of Anu is to keep God, Neter, as the head of our lives. We wish to foster an authentic and passionate relationship with the Creator, so much so that love and joy is at the heart of every experience. We envision the Temple of Anu leaders providing lovingly, godly counsel and teaching with integrity upon the 42 Tefra and Ma'at, and then the 10 virtues as foundational. We envision a community with a genuine acquaintance and awareness of self and of each other. Such knowledge includes understanding and understanding. We see our people living with enough abundance and overflow of resources that each member can be contributing citizens of the Temple of Anu. We imagine our people living in financial freedom, living purpose-filled lives, with the manifestations of our greatest dreams come true, such as Temple of Anu having their own temple building. We envision unity, not just among the people of the Temple of Anu, but among the Kemetic societies and networks around the world. Lastly, but most adamantly, we desire for our people to function as a family, giving each other support and kindness to forever be at peace in what we consider our own sacred space. We included this: know thyself as a pride of creation, the link of uniting divinity and matter. Behold a part of God itself within thee. Remember thy own dignity. And that's the Egyptians Proverbs, page 25. So that's my message for you today. So I think we do. Everyone please stand, and we can go in peace and satisfaction.
Shalom, Matap.
Yeah.
Sisters left over, right?
There you go. What we say?
Dianu.
Uncle Johnson. Okay. And we'll be around the room. And then we gather all of our energy and we force it down. We count 1, 2, 3. One,
Do our Facebook and YouTube for your energy and your time today. If you found value in this message and these words, we would appreciate your reciprocity in the form of donations. They can be sent by Cash App to $ Temple of Anu, or by PayPal or Zelle, templeofanu@gmail.com. We will see you all in 2 weeks back right here on Facebook and YouTube Live, and we look forward to it. Shemi Matep till then, everybody.